Hello, dear viewers. Namaskar. Welcome to Moksha Media. You are with Moksha Hiremat. Dasa literature played a prominent role in Kannada after Vachana movement. The ways of Vachana movement and Dasa movement are different, but the goal is same. That means both of them try to reach the common man in their own ways. And they have certain goals before them. But anyhow, here I don't want to go into those differences. My point is to what extent Dasas contributed to Kannada literature is my concern. Of course, Dasa Sahitya, that is Dasa literature, contributed a lot to Kannada literature and culture. So many composers contributed to enrich the Kannada literature. And Sreepaadaraaya is one of them. Sreepaadaraaya was born in Abburu in the Taluka of Channapatna of Bengaluru district in 15th century. His father was Sheshadiriyappa and mother Giriyanna. His name was Lakshmi Narayana. Once Swarnavarna Tirthas of Mulabagalu Uttaradi Mata identified some speciality in the boy Lakshmi Narayana. So he took Lakshmi Narayana to his mutt. He initiated him into Diksha, and of course then he called him Lakshmi Narayana Tirtha. Of course, after Swarnavarna Tirtha, Sreepaadaraaya became the pontiff of Uttaradimata at Mulabagalu in Kolar district. These matas have their own specialities. But anyhow, here what they have given to us is very important with all those differences. One point is clear, they promoted Dasa Sahitya. It took the turn of Dasa movement in Karnataka and so many composers emerged out of it. And Sreepaadaraaya pushed it. He is called the pioneer of Dasa movement in Karnataka. Of course, before him, Nrsimha Tirtha also started the movement. But at the time of Sreepaadaraaya Tirtha, the movement took to a certain height. Anyhow, Sreepada Tirtha was a good organizer. He was a good musician and so he contributed a lot to the Suladis, that is, the musical songs. And he introduced a kind of dance in kirtanas. Before that, kirtanas were there, but that dance form was not brought to it. But with the effort of Sreepaadaraaya, dance form, a kind of dance form was introduced in kirtanas. Along with the songs, they could dance to change the minds of the people in worshipping Vishnu or Hari. Of course, dasas were the followers of Vishnu. Sreepaadaraaya, also called Sreepaadaraaya, Sreepada Tirtharu, was a good composer of kirtanas. As he was the introducer of dance form to kirtanas, he also composed kirtanas which are full of this dance form. And he introduced these kirtanas to sing before others. Not only these kirtanas should not be confined to the mathas, but it should go to the common people. So he brought down kirtanas to the common people. He made the common people to appreciate those kirtanas in the form of songs. He was a scholar, he was a composer. He had some works to his credit, and Vagbajra is one of them. It is a commentary on Jayatirtha's Nyasura, but the text is in Sanskrit. He composed so many songs. We can see these songs in the form of kirtanas in Brahmara Gita, Venu Gita, and Gopi Gita. If you go through them, you can appreciate his kirtanas. It is said that he has composed round about 13,000 kirtanas, but many of them are not found. One thing is very clear, he was a good composer of kirtanas. And even though he was a sannyasi, he led the kingly life. That is what his disciples told. And Sreepaadaraaya had his own style of conducting kirtanas and composing the musical songs. So he composed Suladis, Ugabogas, and etc. etc. I think only 130 of them are found, but anyhow, it should be researched in this field. Vibhodendra Tirtha of Raghavendra Mutt and Sreepaadaraaya, that is Lakshmi Narayana Tirtha of Murubayalu, were contemporaries. That Vibhodendra Tirtha named Lakshmi Narayana Tirtha as the Sreepada Tirtharu or Sreepaadaraaya or Sreepaadaraja. So then onwards, Lakshmi Narayana Tirtha is called as Sreepaadaraja or Sreepaadaraaya. And some of the myths are there. Some of them consider Sreepaadaraaya as the incarnation of Dhruva. Anyhow, it is common. In order to show the different type of personality of these religious shades, philosophers, some myths are arisen in the society. It is common. But some truth may be there in those myths. But it is not entirely wrong, it is not entirely correct also. It is in between. By going through truths, we can come to know his activities or one's works. That is also what we have to do in case of Sreepaadaraaya. Sreepaadaraaya After Swarnavarna Tirtharu, Sreepaadaraaya became Pontiff of Padmanabha Mutt at Muluvagilu in the district of Kolar. And Padmanabha Tirtharu was the direct disciple of Madhvacharya. Anyhow, after he took the position of Pontiff of Padmanabha Tirtha Mutt at Muluvagilu, he named it as Sreepaadaraaya Mutt. And then onwards, that Padmaraja Mutt became the Sreepaadaraaya Mutt or Sreepaadaraja Mutt. Of course, that is the change we can see in the different times at different levels. So these are some changes he did in his kirtanas and in his works and etc. etc. Anyhow, he was also the advisor of Vijayanagara king such as Salva Narasimha. Often and often he advised them. But anyhow, that the Salvanayaka asked him to be his guru or to be his Rajaguru, but Sreepada Tirtha did not accept it. He made his disciple Vyasaraya the Rajaguru. Like this, Sreepadaraya brought some changes in Dasa Sahitya and in Dasa movement. Of course, at the same time, I think you are the pioneer of Dasa Sahitya, some persons say. Of course, he may be a pioneer in some sections of Kirtanas. But we have to take into account other persons also, in addition to Sreepadaraya. Sreepadaraya started Dasakuta and Vyasakuta. You are the guru, you are the teacher, you are the preceptor of Vyasatirtha. And of course, Vyasaraya was a scholar, he was a Pandit, no doubt about it, and he became the Rajaguru of Krishnadevaraya also. Some people said it. Anyway, it might be. And whenever there was a confusion regarding kirtanas and playing kirtanas before the people, at that time there was an argument, that is, Vyasakuta was meritorious than the Dasakuta, and Dasakuta is meritorious than the Vyasatirtha. But no, both of them are same, but their works are different. So Sreepadaraya solved that confusion, saying that Vyasakuta and Dasakuta. In Vyasakuta, we can see the scholars, especially they are very good in Sanskrit, composing poems, or they are good as scholars. But in Dasakuta, they composed the songs and played before the common people, and they become very popular in common people. The aims of Dasakuta and Vyasakuta are same, but the ways are different. Vyasakutas are the scholars, especially they are good in Sanskrit, and Dasas are good in their native language, in composing the songs, etc., etc. But the aim is same. So like this, that Vyasakuta and Dasakuta go hand in hand, solving some of the problems before them. And Sreepadaraya solved that problem. Like this, Sreepadaraya played a prominent role in the enrichment of kirtanas and in spreading dualistic philosophy here and there. Of course, dualistic concept is a kind of concept which Madhvacharya propounded, and Sreepaadaraaya continued that concept of dualism, which says that Jiva and Atma are different. Of course, let it be to the scholars. If we get into those things, automatically it carries us somewhere. But here my point is, Sreepaadaraaya enriched Dasa Sahitya by composing so many kirtanas, by shaping the Dasa movement, by spreading that concept of dualism here and there. For these things, we have to remember that Sreepaadaraaya or Sreepaadaraaya. Anyhow, Sreepaadaraaya is one of the considerable personalities in Dasa literature. I think this much is enough as far as his personality is concerned. Of course, he entered into Vrindavana alive and becomes a worthy person. But Sreepadaraaya's period is in confusion. It is sure that he was born and bred in 15th century. But as far as the date of birth, as far as the work he did, created some confusion. But one thing is very clear, he is in the period of 15th century AD. So, that is what we have to take into account while studying him, while researching on such personalities. If we try to make some more research regarding these dasas, definitely we can get some more and more points in solving the ambiguities, and we come to know the richness of Kirtana Sahitya also. So, in shaping and enriching Kannada literature by composing Kirtanas, Sreepaadaraaya did a good thing. So, he enriched Kannada culture and literature. See you in the next episode. Thank you. Namaskar.